While most law firm owners may stop at building one successful practice, Christopher Small saw a bigger opportunity and built a second business to fix an industry-wide problem. Welcome to the Lawyer Millionaire, helping law firm owners scale profitably, escape the daily grind, and turn their firm into a wealth-building asset. Running a law firm is one thing. Building multiple businesses is another. How do you go from law firm owner to serial entrepreneur? And once you've mastered the basics of running a firm and building a business, what's next? Christopher Small started as a law firm owner, but he didn't stop there. After seeing massive gaps in how law firms handle their bookkeeping, he launched Big Bird Accounting, a firm dedicated to helping law firm owners take control of their numbers and build stronger, more profitable practices.
We are on a mission to help lawyers and law firm owners maximize wealth and achieve financial independence. Welcome to the Lawyer Millionaire with Darren Wirtz from Wirtz Financial Services.
All right, we're here with Christopher Small. I'm super excited to talk with him. He's not only a law firm owner, but also an entrepreneur, as we'll find out. So, Chris, a lot of law firm owners do dream about this, starting a second business. Usually it's, coaching or consulting. I love that you've gone in a different direction with Big Bird Accounting. But let's be real here. What's the brutal truth about running two businesses?
Yeah. There's a saying, but I can't remember what it is. It's something like, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush or something. So like everyone always tells you focus on one thing and you'll go faster. And it's 100% true. I didn't really get into the second business until the law firm was pretty much up and running. So that is kind of what happened. However, I will say I have had a coaching business in the past, and it was really sort of just for fun. It was organically kind of grown because when I first started my law firm way back in the day, like 2009, I started a blog about starting a law firm. Okay.
Nice.
This was really just to like write down my thoughts, like share what I was going through. But my idea was, I was going to be able to look back on it in the future and, just see how stupid I was or all the mistakes that I made. But people started reading it and then they were like, can you help me? And I was like, I can if you pay me, And so that was, and the reason I'm telling this story is to close the loop on this, but I did try to do kind of both of those for a while. And I found it was extremely difficult to do both well when you're really trying to grow both.
Yeah, so you got to reach a certain size, a certain level of scale, right, where you can delegate enough things that it can be doable. But a great place to get to for sure when you're able to.
Yeah,
to have that second
with
business.
my firm, for sure, it literally got to the point where I had been thinking about starting an accounting firm for a long time, and my law firm got to the point where I just had a lot of time on my hands. Pretty much everybody was doing everything. I was only sort of managing everything, doing some training and stuff. But there was a lot of times where I was just like sitting in my office, like, what am I supposed to do? And so then it was just like, let's go do this. I tried to buy an accounting firm too for a long time. This has been stewing for like several years, but then I finally just pulled the trigger on it. So let's go.
Okay, Chris, so you started this firm, Big Bird Accounting. Tell us what inspired this. What were some of the specific pain points that you were seeing, either for yourself or maybe among other people you were talking to in the legal industry?
Yeah. So it was only me. It was only my pain point, but I just figured if I had it, then other people probably had it too. So there's a couple things. I'll tell you what originally. Okay. So there's two things that inspired it. One, me like trying to, scratch my own itch, and me also just wanting to make some money, real talk.
Yeah.
So, I had done my own bookkeeping in the past. I had hired bookkeepers. Yeah, the experience when I did it on my own was always way better, it seemed like, than when I hired somebody else to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed to sort of like be really expensive or take a long time. And it didn't didn't seem like that complicated to me. So I eventually hired a bookkeeper to just come and work for me all the time, just for my firm, essentially.
Yeah.
Not even a full-time job. I just paid her full-time, and like, it was fine. And then in that same sense, I know, the accounting industry is very much like the legal services industry, in that customer service, client communication, systems, sort of just taking advantage of efficiencies is not great. So there's an opportunity there, if you can do a good job, I think, to create some business and just do a good service for people, quite frankly. So that was number one reason why I thought about doing this. I had kind of built a little bit of an internal system with what I was doing with my own stuff. And so I was like, well, I'll just share this with other people, law firm owners specifically. Those, like, basically all of our clients are law firm owners. And then the second reason was my law firm is actually quite successful. I don't know. I feel like weird talking about your own success. Kind of strange. Very successful. Okay. So I have several attorneys that work for me. We have, everything is really good on that side. But what I have never liked about my law firm, really from day one, is that there's no recurring revenue, really. We do estate planning and probate. People do come back, like they want to update their plan, but it's not like on any sort of a time clock. You never know. And usually the work that they want to have done later on is smaller. It's just not the same. So, with accounting, and we really do. So we do like bookkeeping and tax strategy. We don't do tax prep and filing. We don't do that. And there's the options. Most of the people that work with us, it's really bookkeeping, trust account reconciliation, that type of stuff, right? Just nuts and bolts type of stuff. Well, people will pay you every month for that forever if you do a good job for them, So I'm like, let's crank up some systems. Let's offer to do the service, and then let's just go.
Yeah, I love that.
That's how we did it. Yeah.
I hear that often from a lot of law firm owners, the struggle with finding a good bookkeeper or accounting firm that's really on it, that's proactive, that's responsive. You're right. There's not a lot of proactive planning that's getting done. I think, amongst CPAs in particular, because they're just so busy. They're preparing like 400 or 500 returns, and they're just swamped. They don't have the time or capacity or mental energy to really be strategic or forward thinking. And I think there might be a shortage of CPAs out there. I'm spitballing here, but one of the things that we hear the clients say, they come to us, they tell us, all I've ever heard from my accountant is just be glad you make so much money, that you have the privilege of paying so much in taxes. There's really nothing you can do. Tell us about that. Have you run into that?
Of course. Well, it's just stupid. It's like, I am one of my best friends is a CPA. His office is right next door to mine. And I still could not really have a conversation with him about, like tax strategy or planning, or just even like what I was projected to owe, unless I went in there and like bugged him, Yeah. And so right. I think for a lot of CPAs, it's just a mindset thing. That's just, they don't see their role necessarily as doing that. Their role is, tax prep and filing. You give me your stuff, I'm going to do it for you. When I see what you have, I'll make sure that everything that's available is utilized. But as far as like proactively, implementing a new strategy, we just don't do that. I think part of that's communication. Part of that is, lack of systems, because you could teach a whole bunch of people the same thing all at one time and provide a lot of value. I think the other thing too is they just, you have this flip side as well. Most CPAs charge by the hour, and you're not sure what you're going to get. So you don't want to go and spend $500 to talk with your CPA for an hour when it may not be productive, or you may get some things that you don't know how to implement or any of those things. So, I think it's just really, you kind of have to get lucky to find someone that's proactive, you know, from a tax strategy standpoint, just out there in the world. It's hard, really hard.
Yeah. Amen. I hear that. So, I think it's interesting, being a law firm owner, especially if you want to grow, you're very ambitious and you want to go beyond just being a sole practitioner. You really get a crash course in business building because you have to learn about efficiency and systems and scaling and all of that jazz. And so, but here's the cool thing, right? Once you learn that, you really can apply that to any industry.
Sure.
Here's the thing I find law firm owners feel like they're so unique and their struggles are so unique. And definitely there's some unique things, but it's like every business owner every industry has similar challenges that they need to overcome. So once you learn that, once you master those ideas, you can take that to other industries. And that's kind of what you are doing essentially.
100%. 100%. It's business fundamentals just applied in a different area. And it's service-based business, so it's even closer than you go and do an e-com or something. That would be hard for me because it's way different. It's like, but and when we're also like, because we do estate planning and probate, the tax stuff is like, we're on the fringes of this tax stuff all the time. So it's even closer for what we do, because we're talking about taxes all the time. We're talking strategically as well. Sometimes from an income tax standpoint, definitely from an estate tax type of a standpoint.
Yeah.
But, so there's already that built in, but it's really like, can you find potential clients? Can you sign them up and can you service them? Like this is what we're talking about. And you put people in positions to help you do all of those things. And you just do that over and over again. And I always tell law firm owners this: what we do is not special. It's just like being a plumber. It's exactly the same, right? Because there's a lot of expertise in being a plumber. We just get to wear suits instead of, dig around the toilet all day, I guess. But it's the same. It's exactly the same.
Hey, and you can make a really good amount of money as a plumber. Let me tell you.
100%.
Let's talk about your law practice and your journey there. One of the biggest challenges that we see is really trying to shift this mindset from being a great lawyer to being a great business leader. When did that happen for you, and what was that transition like?
Yep. For me, honestly, it was day one. It's always been that way.
Okay.
My law firm is called CMS Law Firm. I named it that because I did not want people calling and asking for me. Like literally from day one, I made this choice. I think the difference is for me, because I'm just a weird dude probably, but my ego has never been tied to whether people think I'm a good attorney or not. I think that's where a lot of law firm owners get hung up.
Yeah. Because
as you move into this business owner role, you work less and less with clients. You sort of get less and less of that. Oh, you're a wonderful attorney. You're maybe not participating as much in like the bar, like with activities and stuff. And a lot of people like being an attorney is like, that's a big piece of their identity. And you really do kind of have to give that up a little bit if you're going to own a law firm and do it well. Which means you're going to have other people doing the service for you. So I think that's the hardest part, is stepping away from that and not getting out of the work, really. I only come in for the most part when there are problems that people can't solve, people get stuck, or, there's like a grumpy client or something. And it just the apology needs to come from the top or whatever, which is rare, but it happens. People make mistakes, but that is the hardest part when it comes to letting go. You hire an attorney and then you micromanage them. You don't let them do anything. Don't let them get on the phone with the clients, or you just never hire anybody because you're never going to find anybody that's as good, or everybody's too expensive or whatever,
Right. And that's not for everybody. And that's okay. I mean, not everybody wants to be the CEO. Some people love being a practitioner, and that's okay.
Yeah. And by the way, you can also just be a solo practitioner your entire career. That's totally okay as well. Yes. because I have a lot of conversations with law firm owners. What I always say is, it's okay, whatever you want to do, but you need to actually just take the time and be honest with yourself about what you want. So you're not chasing something that other people think you need, or your spouse thinks you need, or the other attorneys that you hang out, whoever it is. You really just got to be honest with yourself, or you're never really going to find that that sort of like quiet place where everything is going well, you know?
Right. You're always adapting because the world's always changing. Let's talk for a minute about being a boss, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Because that's a different skill set. And, some people are, I think, naturally okay at doing it. Maybe there's some natural giftedness towards being a leader. But there are some people that are really bad at it. What was your experience? Was it something you had to learn to be better at? Did you have any interesting stumbles along the way to becoming a boss and learning how to manage people?
Oh, I mean, I have hired and fired many people, had many people quit. I have hired people and been like, what was I thinking when I did this? This is like the worst. Or also, when people leave and I go, I totally messed that situation up and didn't give them an opportunity to win.
Yeah.
I think leadership and management are sort of two different sides of the coin of being a boss, and they're both really hard to learn, and you have to be super intentional about it. Mm-hmm. I think I'll say like from a leadership standpoint, for me, like I played sports like my whole life, so you have opportunities there to kind of be a leader sometimes, like depending on, what you're doing. But like I've had opportunities to sort of like to have people like, hey, come with me, kind of a thing. The management stuff though is, I think, something that you only learn like trial by fire. Even if you go to, I don't know, grad school and get an MBA or whatever, the first time you have someone that's like in your office, like, what should I do? Or how do I know if I'm doing a good job? Like, that's hard. That's hard to figure. How long of a leash do you give somebody? When do you fire somebody? When are you mad at them? Or when do you give them more time? And I think that just gets, that just takes practice, and it's just ever evolving. And most of the time you learn what I always try to do whenever something happens that is an outcome that I don't like, I really try to say, okay, what can I do differently in the future to not have that happen again? Mm-hmm. Like, is there anything in my power that I could do to make that better?
Yeah.
A lot of it comes from hiring and selecting who you're going to bring on your team. But, I'll give you an example of something I did right, I think.
Yeah.
So hiring attorneys is really hard for me because I like to give them a lot of autonomy, but I want them to follow my systems because my systems are really good. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's like this, what's the Goldilocks, right? So it's like, there's like this too hot, there's this too cold, there's like this just right. Okay. Too hot is like if they have too much experience, they come in and they don't want to do your stuff. Like, I've been doing it this way for whatever. And it's like, no, just try it my way. Too cold though is like, I've had people come in that are super, super young, and they just don't know how to be an attorney yet. And that's also hard, So there's like this middle ground of like, been practicing for a few years, confidence of like just being out there in the world, but also not like they're poop doesn't stink and they can do whatever they want, But I'll tell you this, but there's room for everything. So I hired a guy who was fresh out of law school. He just was like spunky, energetic. And I'm like, okay, we can do this. And he's been with me now for like probably about 18 months or so. But there was a time in the middle where I was like, he's not going to get this, because he's doing sales calls and stuff too. And just like really kind of on the struggle bus. And And
Yeah.
I had to try to figure out like, why is this? Does he just not know what he's talking about? No, that wasn't the case for him. I was confident that he understood, like the law and can diagnose people's problems and stuff. But it's a confidence thing because he's so young, so it's
Yes.
like having these conversations. And so then I had to say like, all right, what are we going to do about this? And do I fire him? Do I try to pump him up? Do I give him just some more time and see what
Mm-hmm.
happens? It's like you have all these different options, and you're just like, it's not clear what the right thing to do is. But what I did was I took his calls down a little bit, and I just told him, there's no pressure. I'm not going to be really judging your sales call volume, period. We're going
Yeah.
to do sort of so few that it's not going to matter if you sign anybody up or not. So there's no pressure. And then you can still do legal work. There's plenty of like stuff to do, on the side. And then hopefully and I told him it's a confidence problem. He just needs to get it.
Yeah.
And as his sales numbers go up, I told him I'll give you more calls. Like because we track all that stuff. And this was probably like 3 months ago. And he's just like turned a corner and just crushing it right now. And I was like, okay,
Awesome.
this is great. So that's a really long story though about the difficulty of managing people is real.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And it's so interesting. We all have very different perceptions of reality. I may see an employee struggle with something, but the fact may be that I wasn't clear. I may have thought I was super clear in explaining something and providing, all the details they needed, but to them, it may have been complete Greek. So
Yeah.
I always have to take a step back and think, okay, did I communicate this correctly? Right. And I think if we start there, we will do ourselves a great service. It's very easy to go towards, they messed up with something, but just to kind of take a step back and think, I love what you said, right? How could I maybe do things a little differently next time? That's a fantastic place to start. And there is kind of a hot, cold, mid-range. There's micromanaging, and then there's like laissez-faire. There's like, but neither of those works. You've got to be, as a leader, willing to get down in the weeds enough, but not so much that you are completely disempowering the people that are working for you. And that's a tough balance.
For sure. Yep. Yeah, we tend to start hot, a lot of interaction, and just sort of like loosen it up over time, And then we also do have like a meeting cadence. Like we meet 3 times a week with the whole legal team and have opportunities to talk about stuff and like they, ask questions and do stuff like that. So and I'll tell you this too. The other thing that I think has helped me a lot, is as an owner of a law firm, is I've been pretty intentional about trying to like systematize and sort of like codify my training, my onboarding, and all this kind of stuff.
Yes.
So I have a system for bringing new people in, and if it doesn't work well, then I tweak it for the next. So it's just continuously getting better, as opposed to every time somebody new comes in, it's like, well, what are we going to do this time?
Yeah.
And you just kind of like work on those things and you just get better at them over time, but the struggle is real.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me ask you this. I forget what book I was reading. They were talking about how your gut is usually right. Especially so with like testing anxiety, they encourage people to go with your gut, right? Don't overthink the problem, because actually when the other side of your brain, the logical side of your brain, starts to get involved and starts to get too involved and gets too many calculations are happening, you get more prone to make mistakes. So in my limited experience of hiring, I have found that going with my gut really trumps all.
Okay.
I mean, within reason, right?
Yeah.
There are certain qualifications, but like when I've like really listened to my intuition and gone with what I felt was right, that has usually worked really well. Have you felt like that?
So the answer is yes. I can almost know right away when someone is gonna be hireable,
Yeah.
like almost from jump, from seeing a cover letter and resume. I can almost tell like, okay, this person's going to be a good fit or a bad fit. But I try not to rely on that all the way.
Yeah, that's a good
because
point.
because I'm not good at it, because it's
Right.
not because what I made this classic mistake. The reason why I was kind of looking at you like, oh yeah, kind of was it wasn't really a gut feeling for me, but when I made my first couple hires, these were like admin positions or like a paralegal or something, let's say, that type of person, you really want them to be detail oriented, you want them to be like responsible. You want them to be smart, but those people are kind of boring, and they're not always a great interview. And so like the first two people I hired, they were like, they came in and they were gregarious and like, they were like, sort of like, they got along with me well. And I was like, this is going to be awesome. And then they came in and they were a train wreck. And I was like,
yes.
Oh yeah, it's because they were not actually suited for the position at all.
Yeah.
So I actually don't really do this much anymore, but I started doing like a disc profile to just say like, this person needs to match up with their disc has to match up with the position for me to say yes to them. Then I can see if I like them. Right.
Yes.
The other thing I do too now is my team talks to everybody before we hire somebody. And they do a good job of telling me, most of the time by the time it gets to them, they have already like passed most of my screening. But there have been times where they were like, like they say it nicely. They say things like, oh, they really didn't bring a lot of energy to the conversation. It's kind of their way of saying like, they're not going to fit in around here.
Yeah.
And I like to listen to that,
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this is probably not HR approved. This is for an attorney that I was going to hire recently and I just could not decide what to do.
Yeah.
I had her talk to my wife. And then I was like, cause my wife is like she's like intuitive. She's super smart. And I trust her opinion, she's obviously not hiring for the legal. She also knows the vibe of the office and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, go talk to her. And then like, tell me your thoughts. And her thoughts were the same as the team. And I was like,
interesting.
Okay, well, that's good feedback, So
yeah, you got to figure out what works well for you. I love having the team have some say because culture is important. But I've had an experience where someone interviewed fantastically. Like they were on resume. They were just amazing. Their answers to interview questions were fantastic. They were spot on, but something in my gut said no. And I was about to not listen to my gut, but actually the person backed out. I sent them an offer and they backed out. And I was relieved.
Yeah.
I was like, and then I was like, you know what? I'm so glad I'm going to listen to my gut from now on. I'm going to just keep listening. Now, when I say gut, I do have, what I've done usually is I have a recruiting company that will go and do all the profiling and interview hundreds of people. Right. And give me then like 3 or 4. And then among the top 3 or 4, that's where I'm going with my gut. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Your story though reminds me of an exact experience that I had though. So I agree with you 100% when it comes to that. In that, I interviewed somebody and this was for an attorney position. This was a while ago, but she was great on paper and she was, the team liked her, but still I was like, I don't think she was kind of coming from like a bigger type of a firm. Those are always kind of weird things too, when you're switching kind of these workspaces. And I was like, man, I just don't know. And the same thing happened to me though. I offered her the job and then she said no. And I was like, whew, that's good. That's good. Because you're right though. Yep. 100%. Yeah. So that's you do need to trust your gut when it comes to those types of things. But you do want to, and I'll tell you my secret for hiring attorneys that I've found works really well.
Yeah, please.
Because the hard thing is, like, and you're using a search firm kind of reminded me of this. I've never used a search firm or recruiting service or anything like that because it's like the type of person I'm looking for. They're not going to, I don't think, fall really into a recruiting services space.
Okay.
Weirdly, like, we have 4 attorneys. We're not like big, the people that are coming in, I want them to be of a level where they're not probably even looking at a recruiting service. We're talking about like 3 to 5 years of experience type of a thing. So what I do is, and I'm going to just have this thing going on all the time. So what I do, I have LinkedIn. I've had a lot of a good experience with LinkedIn lately.
Okay.
So I'll just do a LinkedIn ad and I'll run it for $10 a day and I will just let it run forever.
Oh, okay.
And I'm really just, you'll get people in, you'll get people in and they won't be good. They won't be good.
Yeah.
But then one comes in that's good. And you're like, you snatch them up, because they're probably coming from a similar type of a situation. Maybe they're just like not making enough money. Maybe their boss sucks.
Yeah.
Maybe they just want to change the scenery or something. Those are just, I think, a little harder to find. And I've had a lot of success with that. The key though is you have to start looking like way before you really want to hire somebody. And even for me, keep it going because you can still, if you get a couple of good people in, you can literally just tell them like, look, this is not a good time. I like what you have. Like I will reach out to you in the future if we ever have something going on and, you may be in a great spot and that's totally cool, but you can sort of build up like a little bit of a bench there and have that coming in. But that's been my sort of key to success.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great tip on using LinkedIn. And if you have that discipline to be able to look at, like my problem is I look at the first one and I'm like, oh, they look pretty good. So I need someone who can be the top filter for me.
Right. For sure.
Otherwise it's like, it's overwhelm.
Yeah. And this is only for attorneys. So for if I'm hiring for a paralegal or for like an admin or something, like you'll get hundreds of responses and there are a lot of qualified people. I still don't use a recruiting service for them. I don't know why I don't.
Well, I think using at least some kind of personality assessment is really, really good, really critical. So you may not use the recruiting firm, but having some tools like that, because the interview doesn't tell you really anything. The resume doesn't tell you anything. I'm investing in people. I need to know who the people are, who the person is. If you're a good person, and this is the other thing too, I when someone's really excited about working with me, that's who I want, because I can't teach that, right? If you're really pumped about what we're building here and you really just are jazzed up about our business, then I want you, right? I can teach you everything else.
I agree. Look, estate planning is not rocket science. Accounting is not rocket science. You need to learn some rules. Like it's maybe kind of complicated at the beginning, but it's figure outable, but if you're lazy, well, that's hard to change,
Right.
So if nobody likes you, that's hard to change.
Yeah. Well, we're way over time, but I have a couple more questions I want to get in here.
I have nowhere to go.
It's been a great conversation. I want to ask you this. I recently read Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why. And, we're supposed to have a vision for our business, right? And we start with that why question. But then he talks about when you move into being more of an entrepreneur, and let's say you have multiple businesses, it's more about your personal why.
Yeah.
And what's your thing? So I'm curious for you, have you thought about that? Have you started to develop that for yourself, like individually, apart from your identity in each of these businesses? What's your own why?
Yeah. I think for me, look, my why is I want to do things that I enjoy doing with people that I enjoy doing them with. And I want to make some money at the same time. Okay. I want to do all of these things.
Yeah.
For me, like this I was just texting my wife the other day, like I'm like in the middle of these, they're not system overhauls for the accounting firm, but as more people, when you have a new business, things break as you grow. That's just like part of the process. Yeah. And you sort of have to retool things and fix them. And, so I was like, I'm really busy. And she's like, yeah, I know, it's too bad. And I was like, no, this is great. Like, I love doing this stuff. It's sort of like it's like a big jigsaw puzzle, and the pieces are always changing, and you also don't have the picture, and so you're just like trying to put these things together. Right. Yes. So, we have 5 kids with the blended family. We have 5 kids, and so, to be able to do whatever I want, whenever I want, work on the things that I love, and, keep me interested and exciting. That's really my why. Here's the other thing too. I really love, like the service-based business, like giving people a good service feels really good.
Yeah.
Like one of the reasons I chose estate planning was because it's like literally the only area of the law where people come to you in a good mood and they leave in a good mood. Like they very rarely come to you in some kind of crisis. They're like, I have kids. I want to protect them. We have some money. I want to make sure it goes where it's supposed to go. Like, are you thinking about when you die? Yeah, kind of, but it's not the same. You're not sad when we are talking, you have this sort of like this, you're looking into the future. You're like creating legacy and, protecting your family and stuff like that. And, there's something that's really like feels really good about that. So that's kind of my why. It changes over time on what that actually looks like in real life, because sometimes you think like, oh, I just want to retire. I don't want to work. And you do that for like a minute and you're like, I'm bored, like really bored. And I actually really did like doing that stuff I was doing, where you think like, I want to just have a place at the beach. And then you're like, no, it's just not as fun as I thought it was going to be, So those kind of things evolve, but really it does evolve. It does always sort of come back to, just taking advantage of life, taking action, trying things, and just having some fun along the way as well.
Yeah, definitely. And it is always evolving. Life is always changing. A lot of people do find that, right? They retire and then they're bored. 85% of business owners who sell their businesses regret the decision, because then they kind of lose that sense of purpose. Now, my dad is perfectly happy to be in Florida on a beach riding his motorcycle, and that he doesn't need anything more. He's perfectly happy doing that. But that doesn't work for everybody. So you have to figure out what it is for you. One
more thing about that though, that I think is really important is you really need to understand what you want to do from a personal perspective, because your business should evolve and grow to serve your personal needs.
Yes.
And that's where people get really stuck, like, I was talking to a guy and he's like, I want to make like $300K a year. I want to work like 15 hours a week, and I want to play video games the rest of the time. Because he's like in his late 20s, early 30s. But so he's he's not grown up yet, which is fine. But I'm like, look, you can do that, because then he's like, let's run some ads, let's do some stuff. And I'm like, let's build a team. I'm like, to bring 300K in it, put 300K in your pocket. You don't need that much to do that, Yeah. You need a good source of leads, but that's not, that's nothing, right? Like when we're talking about making that much money over the course of a year, you could definitely do that, So that's the important part. Is always, whenever I talk to people, the first exercise is always, what does your perfect life look like? And then your business builds into that,
Yeah. Otherwise you'll be unhappy.
100%.
Yes. And you only get one shot at this life. So let's be happy. Right.
Yeah. People are like, look, you want to scale this law firm up? I'm like, you know what? I not really. I don't really want to.
Yeah.
Because a lot more moving parts with the law firm than with the accounting firm in particular. Like, for example, it's True. Like, I really love it. This part's fun, but this is a really good size, maybe add a couple people over time, but I'm not trying to go like huge, just not what I want to do.
I love that you mentioned that, because that ties into the book we're currently reading in our book club, which is The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. And he says the biggest trick in life is to get the goalposts to stop moving, to know when enough is enough, to know at what level you are satisfied and not to want more. And my grandmother used to say something very similar, which is the trick in life is not getting what you want, it's wanting it after you get it.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's hard though not to move those goalposts. I think what's key though is the goalposts need to be moving in relation to the things that make you happy or that fulfill you, not necessarily make you happy even, but not based on somebody else moving the goalposts for you, So I wouldn't be like, oh, Darren made 2 million this year, now I got to make 2 million. That's like the worst goalpost move that you can make.
Right.
You may get to a million and then go, well, gosh, now that we're here, maybe we can do XYZ a little differently, or maybe, we can do something that is just sort of like part of what you want to do. Does that make sense? Because it's hard if you're static. It's fun to be chasing something, you just want to be doing it for the right reasons, or just because it's fun too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think we often get caught up in what we think we're supposed to want.
Yeah.
Like, I should want a really nice car or something like that. And nothing wrong with that, right? If you want a really nice car, great, go for it. But you got to know, like, does that really speak to me, right? Is that really going to be fulfilling? For me, it's kind of like, well, I could drive a nicer car. It wouldn't move the needle on being happier necessarily. It actually would make me less happy to have a larger payment, you know what I mean? Or something like that. So where's the happiness, right? Where's that?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, look, I'm not a car guy either. I just tell my wife, like, you figure out how to spend the money, like the game, like like putting something out there and having somebody like respond to you is like the coolest feeling in the world, having a new attorney come on, teaching them how to like sell, and then have them sign someone up and like see how excited they are. That's super fun. So that type of stuff is the type of stuff I like. Is making money fun? Yeah, it's super fun. It's like people are lying to you if they said money's not cool. It's great. It's fantastic. But when you're chasing other people's stuff, that's when it becomes much, much less fun.
Indeed. Chris, I'm curious, are there any really great books that you're reading right now that you're loving?
I got to be honest with you. I have not been reading much lately other than sort of circling back on stuff that I've read in the past. Yeah. I have read so much though in the past. Like I am a voracious reader and I love reading, and I love reading business books. Psychology of Money is like one of my favorite books. I think I've read it at least 3 times. So it's like it's such a good book. Yeah. But what I have found with a lot of the new stuff that's coming out is it's sort of like a regurgitation of another book that's just better, Yeah. I'm trying to find stuff, but I'm just really having a hard time coming across anything that kind of like grabs my attention, So I have not been reading much lately. I have a ton of books. I love to read, man, but I just haven't found anything super good lately.
That's okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that you've read The Psychology of Money and enjoyed it. Would love to have you join.
It's a great book.
Yeah, it's really, it's not rocket science, but Morgan Housel has such a really unique way of making you think about certain things and reflect on them. It's like, I've heard these things before, but he makes you look at them in a new light. And that's really the powerful thing. Some of our members in the book club have never read it and are like blown away. They're like, this is fantastic. How do I teach my kids this stuff? How do I get them to read this?
For sure. Yeah. It's such a great book, but like there's just classics that, it's so hard to because here's the other thing too. And again, this is not true, but I'm going to say it. Okay. So just keep that in mind. I feel like I've kind of evolved to a place now with my business where I know the things that I need to do.
Yeah.
I just don't need as much like motivation. I don't need as much training. Like I don't like, like we talked about at the very beginning, it's not rocket science to start and grow a successful business. When you know what you're supposed to do, the key is just to do it, So like my action button over the course of all these years is just so much stronger than it used to be, to where now I don't need to listen to Grant Cardone or something, like I'm just go to work. I don't need to find the next book to like tell me about, and the psychology of money is not like that. It's more like principles and foundations of money. It's like, that's what makes it so great. But some of these other books are just like, I don't need that motivation anymore. I get it, I'm convinced.
You're looking for the next great read. Okay.
And I'll tell you what I'm really looking for too, that I'm just not sure about right now is I know I need more skills. I know that I can be better, but I'm not really sure like what that is yet. Like I haven't. Does that make sense?
The deeper level. What's the next level? Yeah. Beyond the fundamentals of business and leadership. Yeah. I get you. Yeah. I get you there.
It's tricky. Yeah.
Cool stuff. Well, Chris, it's been absolutely fun talking with you. If you're a law firm out there and need a better bookkeeper accounting system, check Chris out. Chris, where can people go to learn more about you?
Yeah. Big Bird Accounting is the name of our business. I literally just was like looking for a URL that had the .com with it and was just like trying different animals and stuff. So Big Bird, seriously, I just thought it was a fun, like quirky little name. But if you go to bigbirdaccounting.com, I mean, that's it. So, like I said, we do really service law firm owners exclusively for obvious reasons. Happy to chat with anybody that's curious about getting help or frustrated with their current person. Happy to chat with you.
Sounds good. Well, thanks so much, Chris.
Yeah, I had a blast.
All right. If you want to learn more about Christopher Small and how Big Bird Accounting can help your law firm clean up its books, check the show notes for the links. Chris's journey is a perfect example of why having the right team around you is critical. A bookkeeper or tax strategist isn't just there to file paperwork. They can help you maximize profits, reduce liabilities, and create financial clarity. But that's just one piece of the puzzle. You may already have an investment advisor, a bookkeeper or tax person, and maybe even a business coach. But here's the big question. Who is keeping them all on the same page? Who is looking at the big picture and making sure every decision is aligned with your long-term success? That's what we do here at the Lawyer Millionaire Founders Network. We help law firm owners integrate business strategy, financial planning, and long-term wealth creation. If you're ready to take control and make sure every piece of your financial plan is working together, jump on a call with me to learn more. The link is in the show notes. Well, that's a wrap for this episode of The Lawyer Millionaire. Remember, your law firm should be an asset, not just a job. Take control, build wealth, and create the future you deserve. See you next time.
Thank you for listening to The Lawyer Millionaire. Click the follow button below to be notified when new episodes become available. This content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. This content is not intended to represent investing or tax advice. Always seek the advice of a qualified investment or tax advisor with any questions you may have regarding your own financial circumstances.